It's the Wednesday edition of WWT Live, and I have a simple question for you. What is your favorite kind of ice cream? Probably not how you expected to start the show, but I'll give you 2 words: Rocky Roads. We'll talk that and more on the Wednesday edition of WWT Live.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Zero.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Happy Wednesday, good people, and welcome to WWT Live as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. I am the Professor Gerard Bonner, GB, whatever it is you feel like calling me. And listen, nobody's really interested in me. We're interested in all that's happened in the last 48 hours in the world of pro wrestling as we are on the windy, twisty, rocky road to WrestleMania. It'll all make sense to you in a few minutes if it doesn't already. But I'm not alone. I'm joined by my good brother from the UK. Man, we get to do a second show together this week. I'm super pumped for this. He is the master of all things black wrestling. He is A Dazzle. What's going on, good brother?
Yo. What is good? So we've got 2 nights in a row. This is WrestleMania already?
It is WrestleMania already, right?
This is night 2.
1 and 2.
This is night 2.
I love it. I love it, man. Are you doing good?
I'm good. I must say I'm tired. I've just done a 9-hour shift at work. I rushed
Good
back
Lord.
here. I had to be here. Yeah, man. And, that Rocky Roads. Come on, Gerard. You've taken something out of my playbook with the wordplay there. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And we are also joined by a lady who likes to do a good deep dive. Candace is with us. Candace, how are you?
Come on.
I am doing great. It feels so good to be back. This past month has been insane, and it has pained me to not be able to talk about all the things that have been happening in wrestling. But I'm so excited to be here tonight because it's been a crazy, fun, spectacular time to be a wrestling fan.
Crazy. You know, these are the times that we dreamed of. And honestly, I think there was a period where we weren't sure that these times would ever show up again. But here we are. Wrestling is must see, and I love every bit of it. And so we've got a lot to get into. Shout out to cousin Ron in the chat. And our good friend Honey could not be with us on camera, but at least she's watching, which we always appreciate having her rocking with us. So there's plenty to talk about, guys. And let's just get right into it. I mean, we're watching Monday Night Raw. We're kicking things off with Cody Rhodes. He's got us in our feelings. We're all pointing to the sign. And then this happens. This guy, The Rock, who is not scheduled to be on Raw until next week. None of us thought we would see him. He shows up on Monday Night Raw, utters not one word in a microphone except whispering something to Cody Rhodes. And before we get to how he ended the show, I want to talk about how you felt when he showed up on your screens Monday night, because this is a whole thing. Candace, I'll start with you. How did you feel about The Rock showing up on our TV screens this Monday, completely unannounced?
I don't know what we've done to deserve this, but the type of moments that The Rock has been making for us is just amazing. I absolutely loved that it made me feel like we can still have, in this day and age, the element of surprise.
Yes.
That felt so good to be able to have that. You heard the genuine shock, excitement, praise from the fans. And sometimes you just don't get that. For everyone wants to be the smartest person in the room and know what's going to happen next. So to have that element of surprise was just phenomenal. I remember I was even talking about this to someone right after I saw this. The very subtle things that The Rock does where he doesn't have to utter a word is so brilliant to see. The way that he plays on the fact that he has the cameraman, then he can get his favorite side, or he can make a certain gesture and make it clear you get this shot right here. You know, I love those subtleties. The fact that he can whisper in Cody's ear, and we're still asking the question days later, what did he say in Cody's ear, was absolutely amazing. And I love the way that throughout this this first part of Raw, they created a thread that weaved all throughout the show with the questions that we had. And that's just how you do Raw right. Utilize that time to play with our minds.
Well said. Hey, Dazzle.
You know, I'll basically just repeat what Candice was saying as well, because it was the element of surprise. As she said, we don't get that in this day and age with social media, with everyone thinking that they know everything and dirt sheets and all the rest of it. It was just phenomenal. And, you know, we're still asking the question, what did The Rock say to Cody? But I think I have a very strong idea. Based on the response that Cody gave when he said it was a promise that he doesn't think he can keep, I think The Rock showed him exactly what it was that he said in his ear. I'm going to beat you up anyway.
that
I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, because it wasn't a lot.
Simple as that.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. We didn't need any translators. It was very, very quick. It was just a few words, but whatever it was, certainly was a big deal. And the chats are firing off as we knew they would be. Boza is here. He says, while Monday was good, I've been pondering, why does Roman versus Cody 2 feel overshadowed by The Rock? I've got an answer for that. We'll get to that in a second. MDB is here. He left us early Monday to go to the show. And he says that it was one of the best live show moments he's ever had. That's pretty awesome. Let's see. Rock came through with that Beyonce 2013 album drop. Totally did, honey. Like, came through. Nobody saw it coming, and everybody was shook. MDB says, I got to check off one of my bucket list items, so that's how I felt about this. Seeing The Rock live made me feel like I was 7 again. Well, that's pretty awesome. Hello, Bobby. Good to see you. Boza says, you can tell with Triple H running things, he wanted to make sure that thread between Cody and Rock is making WrestleMania feel important, and it is. Let's see. Special Little Nobody's wrestling is cool again for sure. That is for sure. Bobby says, maybe The Rock told Cody Rhodes that he will wrestle him again soon in a singles match. Well, while we don't know exactly what he said, we do know what he did. And it involved a beat down. Do you hear me? So we set the stage. The main event was Jey Uso versus Shinsuke Nakamura, a great match in its own right. And from there, we saw the Bloodline members show up. Jay's brothers, of course, Jimmy and Solo. And then there was backup on Jay's side, where, of course, Cody and Seth showed up. Cody starts putting the boots there to, I believe it was Solo, and they're fighting toward the back, and then out of nowhere, here comes The Rock. And The Rock, we've got to, there's so much to this. The Rock puts this very deliberate beat down on Cody, throws him outside in the rain. And I heard Missy Elliott floating around saying, I can't stand the rain. And that was the case for Cody Rhodes. He could not stand the rain and got beat like the proverbial government mule. I mean, and this was the kind of beatdown that was the old school beatdown, talk junk and trash to you. And I mean, The Rock was in rare form. We saw blood. We saw all kinds of things. And we even saw him wipe Cody's blood on a special belt made for Mama Rhodes. This was amazing. So, all right, guys, there are those who felt like this beating went too far. There are those that felt like this is an ode to the Attitude Era. There are even those that are saying that with this, the PG era is gone. What are you thinking with the go-home final shots from Monday Night Raw with The Rock and Cody Rhodes?
For me, you know, I was at work today, and I don't talk about wrestling a lot outside of a podcast like this or my page or whatever else. I had my manager come to me. I had one of the security guys come to me.
Wow.
And they were like, "Did you see Raw last night?" I'm like, "I didn't even know you watch it."
Right.
You know what I mean? And they were talking about it and all the rest of it. So when you say, you know, it's like an ode to the Attitude Era, because we know that most of the people that we know that watched wrestling, that's when they watched it. Again, you know, one of them said, you know, did you hear what The Rock said? Obviously, talking about the swearing and whatnot, and all the things that he was saying and all of that stuff. And even the guy also said, I think we're now in a new era. I think we're now in a new era. He said Triple H has made sure, he was making sure we are starting a new era. And I really feel as though, and not just even with what happened with The Rock and Cody, but just Raw in general, the whole show just felt different. It just felt so different. I'm sure we'll probably talk about CM Punk, Drew, and Seth as well. That segment, what Ricochet did in his match, there were so many things that were just different, and I'm like, all right, this is what I wanted. Someone said it in the chat, and The Rock said it as well. Wrestling just feels cool again, and I feel as though there's going to be a resurgence of old fans, new fans, all of that, and I think we can put it down to a lot of it at least, to The Rock. What's happened, what he's been doing over the last few weeks. Obviously his you know, his status as a celebrity and his popularity as well. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And Candace talked about his subtleties. It's mind-blowing. This guy really is the final boss. And if anyone has an argument for it, I don't want to hear it, because it's not going to make any sense. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Oh, gosh. Candace, your thoughts?
I 100% agree. I personally did not feel that the beatdown that The Rock gave Cody Rhodes was too much.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't, because you don't see these things usually happen, whether it's the use of blood or usually that type of, I guess you could say, violence happening as much on Raw. Right. So when it does happen, and this story has already been built, it's really showing you the heights of where they're going to be going WrestleMania. So it just blends perfectly with that. It wasn't done just to create shock value. It's showing how clear The Rock has been that there is, first off, only one royal family. And how dare you, boy, because you know he has to constantly say that to diminish Cody at every chance he can. How dare you even think that you can talk to me about anything that involves my family, what I should do, as he keeps reminding everyone that he is on the board. So it's a completely different ballgame. This is a completely different Rock that you're seeing. I have another level of power that I haven't before. So it completely makes sense that he would want to abuse that and really set it home that whatever me and Roman even had when we were supposed to fight at WrestleMania did not involve you. I was completely fine with being on your side, with you having certain goals in WWE, but now you stepped into my business. So now we have problems. And not only do we have problems, I have a problem with Mama Rhodes. I need to make her feel like I'm going to absolutely destroy you because you got into my family's business. You disrespected my family tree by even speaking about my family. So it absolutely makes sense that they would go to that level. And I know a lot of people were attributing this type of scene for the Attitude Era, but to me, especially with The Rock's roots, that was straight up like NWA territory days.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
And I thought it was perfection.
Yes.
It was perfection. Even the weather was cooperating.
Right.
that was wow. Like I remember saying on the show yesterday, like, you know, the whole thing with the rain, it's I can't remember the last time we've seen a beatdown in the car park where, you know, there was no weather. It was just dark. Like, I haven't seen rain. I don't think I've ever seen rain. Where did the rain come from?
I
like
have no
The
idea.
Rock has obviously called on his Samoan ancestors and said, listen,
yes,
I need it to rain so I can make a statement. And that's what happened yesterday. It was just madness.
It was incredible. And to your point, Candace, it was very much an NWA 80s style beating, much like what the Horsemen would have given to Cody's father, you know, catching him outside, you know, and making him catch this work. And I mean, that's what we saw. There's some interesting commentary happening in the chat. So I want to make sure I hop at this. Let's see. MDB says The Rock gave Cody the Debo treatment. He did. He did. And so there was a point in here I wanted to get to it, because MDB mentioned something to the effect of people in the arena. Actually, there were people that had left early before this happened, which seemed kind of nuts.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was pretty wild that people would leave. Now, Cousin says, we were wondering if Cody was going to turn into the Smoking Skull title and have a flight off the bridge. Now, that's what I was wondering. He had him over that edge, and I thought he was going to throw him over. And that's what I literally spent that whole time going, he's going to throw him over. He's going to throw him over. He's going to throw him over. And I was like, oh my God, if he throws him over, it's a wrap. It is a wrap. Let's see. Boza says, oh, sorry. Special to Nobody says, Orange Juice Jones was playing in my head. Very good. Very, very good. Boza says, for The Rock's first real program since WrestleMania 29, you can tell how much fun he's having, and he's not mailing it in at all. And I think it's important to note, this is the most physical The Rock has been since WrestleMania 29. Other than that slap that we saw at the kickoff, I mean, he's beating people up right now. He's hitting them with garbage cans. Like, he's throwing them into buses. We've not seen this before. So this is a really, really cool space. And here we go. Boza was saying, I get it. I think people were shocked that in the in-arena action was done at like 10:50 for Raw. And then MDB makes a great point. It's like leaving a Marvel movie before the extra end credit scene. I agree. Now, this is interesting. MDB says it hadn't rained all day in Chicago until Raw started. Wow. And he was there. So that's amazing. He said it was actually pretty nice weather all day until Raw. You can't make this stuff up. This is great. The weather was with Rock like it was with Prince during that halftime show. You're on it, sir. You're on it. So I want to get back to this comment that was made earlier about The Rock overshadowing this Roman Cody match. And we kind of alluded to this yesterday, but I think what we need to remember is, let me ask, this is a rhetorical question that really doesn't require an answer. What more does Roman and Cody need to do? They did all that they needed to do leading up to WrestleMania 39. And when he lost, all the lead up that was needed was Cody winning the Royal Rumble. When Cody won the Royal Rumble, he immediately pointed at Roman. We knew we were on. Nothing else needed to be said. So this whole piece with The Rock is for making sure that you tune in to night one. Night one is the buildup that we're seeing. That's why Roman hasn't had to say much. Again, we've seen Roman and Cody interact. We've seen Roman and Seth interact. It's The Rock's interaction in all of this that is going to make everybody turn on the channel. And it's The Rock's interaction in this that's going to make those outliers, the folks who are in mainstream that didn't pay attention to WrestleMania, they're going to tune in for this. Somebody mentioned something the other day, I can't remember where, but it made me think that there potentially are people who only tune into to pro wrestling during WrestleMania season. I will tell you, and some people will probably judge me for this, but it's okay. I tend to only watch the NFL and the NBA during the playoffs. The regular season doesn't mean much to me because I'm not that deep of a follower. But when it comes to playoff time and it comes to the finals, I'm vested. That's where people are when it comes to WrestleMania. And I don't think those of us who are hardcore wrestling fans have ever considered that there are plenty of people who show up to WrestleMania and WrestleMania season only during this time. So you have to give them something that will lock them in. And what The Rock is doing is locking a lot of people in. And I think this is going to be incredible. So, yeah, to answer that question, Boza, everything is pointing toward night one. And here's the deal. When you get locked into night one, of course you're coming back for night two. So it's gonna be awesome. And nope, MDB, I did not see the double OT Lakers game. I don't even know which game it was. Sorry. Who'd they play? Obviously, it wasn't in the finals. So nope. And it's funny because MDB and I got to agree for a hot minute on this, and obviously we're gonna part ways very soon. But that's okay. So in addition to that, Monday Night Raw was big for everything, literally from start to finish. But one of the other things that people talked about was this moment. CM Punk was one of the big draws that was announced to return to Chicago this past Monday night. We did not know that it would end up being CM Punk and Drew McIntyre going face to face, and then Seth Rollins in the mix. And, well, let's just say we got another promo for the ages. The word on the street is that they were given free reign. Free reign to say whatever you'd like. And it's clear that they did, and it felt really good. But I want to get your thoughts. What did you think? Because I've heard people say multiple things about this particular promo. So, Candace, I'll ask you first. What were your thoughts of this interaction between CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins?
I don't know if this was done intentionally, but as soon as CM Punk made the announcement that he was injured, I feel like WWE was doing a great job of making sure that he's still in the mix, in the conversation surrounding WrestleMania, to the point where for the past few months, you've seen this conversation surrounding CM Punk from other main event wrestlers, making it clear whether they have gripes against him, whatever they feel, they've been making these comments. And I love how you had CM Punk come in and pretty much make it clear in his demeanor and also what he said, that he's been taking this all in and he's been listening. And that's actually the best time to rouse someone up, is when they know that they had the opportunity to go to WrestleMania, but they're at home and they have to see all these great things that's happening. And I feel like with that type of, and you can feel it in CM Punk's pores, that he is just waiting to be able to get in that ring again. And I think that that's also the great work that you see with WWE, where they're already planning for that CM Punk summer, where he's going to come back really strong and have, honestly, a pick of who he would like to face off with first, but then letting CM Punk really play on one of his biggest strengths, is one, stirring up the pot and being great at promos and really getting himself possibly into something that's happening at WrestleMania. I love that they did not let that sit on the table, because to let CM Punk sit at home right now, when he has so many tools that he can use outside of being physical in the ring, is absolutely brilliant that they're playing on that. And even CM Punk kind of teasing about what's to come with the Netflix deal, on how things might change, and that little subtle remark he made, even including his wife's name in it. So who even knows what would come out of that? Maybe there might be some involvement with AJ. Like, we don't know. And I love how you had these moments where throughout Raw, you get all these little Easter eggs on what's to come. But then you're seeing, and I completely agree with you, they had to be given free reign. Because you felt that there was moments in a natural conversation where someone says something, you're internalizing that and having a comeback for maybe something you've been holding on to. And you really see those moments, even the little awkward moments where sometimes it seemed like it ran too long in certain parts, but it was still good. That felt real. And it was nice to see them kind of have, I don't want to see the chains, but having a little, a little bit of freedom in that. And I love Seth coming and making it clear, you're back, yes, but Monday Night Raw is mine. So I just need you to remember that. It felt good to see CM Punk be able to have this many connections, whether it's real heat or not, but heat in the fact that these guys know that they can have some great matches and great feuds coming out of this and really know how to do business with each other. It was really good to see that dynamic.
And that's what I was going to say. Like that's the beauty of wrestling in general, and especially with these three, and the promo on Monday is the reality working with the fiction or the storyline or the kayfabe, however you want to put it. And it gives us it gave us those little awkward moments where you're like, someone say something, or did he mean to say that? Should he have said that? Is he gonna get told off when he gets sent it back? All that kind of stuff. But it's like that was the beauty of it. We know that there's real heat between Seth and Punk, Drew and Punk, and all the things that we read in the dirt sheets, but they are still able to be professional with the storyline and what the story that they have to tell in order to get to WrestleMania. I just find it beautiful that they're able to do that and still have that real detest for CM Punk all at the same time. A question I was going to ask. Yes. So we've heard, or we're kind of hearing or expecting CM Punk to be on commentary during their match. It was kind of alluded to that it could be a special referee. Which one do you think works better, commentary or him as a ref?
It's funny because I have an interesting question connected to that, but I will say probably physically it's best for him to be on commentary with that arm still messed up. You don't want to fall on the wrong arm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some people would like him as a referee. Physically, I'm not sure that would be a smart move. I do think while being on commentary, he can still very much get up from the commentary booth and create some level of distraction, which, I think could become a thing. So I think and the other thing is, I think commentary will probably work best for everybody outside of the arena or the stadium. Inside of the stadium, people would probably love to see him in a referee space, but strangely enough, it might take too much attention away from Seth and Drew. True. Candace, did you have any thoughts on that?
I would personally like to see him on commentary because I completely agree with the physicality. You don't want anything to interrupt that healing so that we can see him just completely go off when he returns. We don't want to interrupt that or prolong it. But also, just what CM Punk did during the I can't think of, remember, it was like a press conference or what they named it, but the kickoff, yes,
WrestleMania kickoff.
The way that he was able to even get under skin, because I know he had to get under the skin of The Rock and others when he was making certain comments and trying to fan the flame. That would be amazing for that to happen at WrestleMania, and him just having the pick of the litter on what he wants to do and really play mind games with his commentary. I would absolutely love to see that. I would love it.
You guys have actually set up my question far better than I was going to lead into it. So with all that you have said, here's the question I want to pose to the chat and to you as well. Given what has happened to CM Punk, do you think that CM Punk is more useful at WrestleMania in the ring, physically, or with his presence and his voice?
Thankfully, because of the skills that he has, he would be just as good in both ways. I must say, physically, even going back to the recent stuff in AEW, what he did, maybe what he didn't do. Physically, obviously, he's not where he used to be. But vocally, he's in the exact same place, maybe better. Given the histories and all the stuff that we know personally, between the three guys that we can see on the screen, like it's probably better that it is he's on commentary. Like, to answer the question that even I asked myself, like it would be almost obvious to put him in the ring as a ref, but I just love the fact that WWE is just being very different in so many ways and with so many things. And I think just to be different, and because it will still work just as well, he's better on commentary. And you know for a fact he's not going to just sit there. He'll get up at some point. He's going to cause some kind of distraction. If I give my prediction as to what could possibly happen on that night, he's going to cost Seth the title in whether on purpose, indeliberately. Drew's going to win, and then something else will happen, and to allow Damian Priest to cash in on Drew. The dynamics of that on the Monday night after WrestleMania would be ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I love the sound of that. Candace, where is Punk more useful in WrestleMania? In a physical capacity or with his physical presence and his voice?
I definitely have to say with his voice, because just that art that Punk has had from the moment that he's gotten into the wrestling industry is knowing where to really pick at something that may be gnawing at a wrestler and knowing when to strike and how to work. Just like, and I cannot believe I forgot to point this out. Case in point, when he was speaking to Drew and he had to play in his mind, who decided that you could be a top guy? Knowing that obviously he can't say the name of the person, but also possibly playing with him like, well, in this new era, would I be someone that feels like the fans or even the higher-ups would feel like I'm the guy that they would want? Like, what he knows how to play it, to have you gnawing on an idea that you would pretend that is not bothering you, but it will get at you, and Punk knows how to do that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because that was, again, another one of those moments where you went, oh my God, we have a Vince McMahon reference. That has not happened in ages. And will he actually say it? Or we're just going to tiptoe around it? Like, those uncomfortable moments are what makes this work. And the unfortunate part that happens with wrestling fans is people ask, is it a work? Is it a shoot? All that other stuff, which I wish fans never knew terms like that. But what's great to me is it's much like music or any other performance that you see. You don't have to tell somebody it's real. You can feel it. And if I can feel that it's real, I'm not asking if it's real. You know, none of this felt like, oh, they just went over this in the back. Everybody hit your lines. Go. No, this very much felt like, and you could feel the tension between the three of them. So I love these kinds of moments. Let's see. Cousin Ron says on the call is where Punk is best. Presence and voice. He doesn't need to have setbacks on his return. Honey says presence and voice, especially given the circumstances. Boza says, I think Punk could cost the winner the World Heavyweight Championship. And Drew hasn't signed his contract yet. We're getting to that. I promise you. So yeah, a lot of interesting spaces. So we're staying in the WWE because yesterday was a very, very big day. Congratulations to this lady, Becky Lynch, the man, who, by the way, had a great promo and presence herself Monday night. Congratulations to her. Her book, Not Your Average Girl, is officially in stores. It's doing very well. She had her first book signing yesterday at Barnes & Noble. I heard the line was something like 3.5 hours long, and people waited, and she signed that entire time. As we speak, she's doing a signing in New Jersey. I believe tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow she'll be in DC. Following that, she'll be in Boston. So she's going to be all over the place this week doing book signings. After the first day, her book is already top 15 on the bestsellers new release list on Amazon, which is amazing. We'll wait, obviously, until the end of the week to see how that's looking. But big congratulations to her. Now, there's a lot of Becky Lynch news happening right now. One of those pieces of news is that she feels as though, in her words, quote, I don't need a title. It's just kind of wild to hear her say. But she had an interview with Sports Illustrated, and she says, I don't need a title. We should be focused on the future of the industry. The title doesn't make me. I make the title. I have enough stories. I don't need a title. She says, we need multiple stories with women that don't all revolve around a title. That's what our division needs. So what are your thoughts then? Well, wait. Before I ask that, she's made that statement, and then she went on, and the news is officially out. She said this to a couple of outlets, that she is in the final 2 months of her contract. Her contract is scheduled to end in June. There have been no new negotiations. So with all of that said, first of all, 2 questions. One, your thoughts on Becky's comments. Do we need more stories in the women's division not revolving around championships? And then 2, does all of this news give us any sort of Easter egg to what we could see at WrestleMania?
I'll jump in. I feel as though with everything that's been said, my mind's just running. Yeah. There's a strong possibility that, you know, her versus Rhea Ripley could possibly be seen as almost like a passing of the torch, and not necessarily in the sense where Rhea needs it, but I think it's very similar to when Roman defeated Undertaker. It didn't feel as though Roman needed it. It just cemented what we already kind of felt. It already feels as though Rhea is a superstar and all the rest of it. But with Becky being the man and being the, you know, forefront of the women's division for a very, very long time, and with the comments that she's recently said, it would make sense if that's the feeling. Maybe Rhea, you know, beats Becky. Becky may disappear for a little bit. Purposely, and I don't see her going somewhere else, but you know, she just takes some time out and whatnot. In the comments when she was talking about the women's division needing stories, it's very interesting because it made me feel as though, you know, it felt right, it sounded correct. We've, you know, a lot of people have been talking about the possible rumor or the possibility of having a women's you know, mid-card title. When you think about it, it doesn't actually need that. It just needs better stories. I think in the comments as well, she did mention how NXT, the women's division NXT, is doing that already and doing it very well. We know that. We see the stuff with Thea Hale and everyone else down in NXT, and it would make sense. Just give the ladies more. It's literally just about giving the ladies more to do. It doesn't have to have a title. In our minds, because of this day and age, we kind of just feel that that's the answer. But it doesn't. It actually doesn't need that. So those are very interesting comments. It's got me thinking very differently than how I have done in the last few months.
Yeah, Candace, your thoughts?
I definitely agree with Becky about this need to have solid storylines with the women. I think that was one of my biggest gripes, even with looking at this picture for the kickoff, was we saw some amazing moments during this kickoff. But I think one of the things that for the past few WrestleManias, if I'm being completely honest, I feel that the matches with the women always exceeds expectation. But sometimes coming into WrestleMania, I feel like I don't know exactly why I should be invested in the two in the wrestling, outside of the fact that we know you're gonna get 5-star match. And I think that is a problem in WWE. I think I said maybe in November or so that I absolutely love this run of Rhea Ripley. But sometimes when I sit down, I'm thinking, what was a feud that I can think of that really made me feel that it was long lasting, that it really showed me possibly the strengths of Rhea, the vulnerability as a champ, all those different things. And I have not seen that. I think when I look, and I think this is why Becky made this point, is that I feel that the different moves that she's made to go from NXT to Raw or SmackDown over this past year has been very deliberate, because with each competitor that she was wrestling, and yes, she was holding titles, she made the reasoning on why she had chosen that particular competitor, or what was at stake personally in her mind for certain goals that she had. Like, for instance, really wanting that NXT title because of the fact that no one really saw her as that girl when she was in NXT to hold that title. It was always, in her mind, being overshadowed by the Four Horsewomen, and needing to make sure that she wrapped that up with the belt, to know that she could get that title and that it made sense for her to be able to take that and check that off her bucket list. Or a match that did not involve a title, but I think actually put the stamp of approval for fans like me that always was a fan of Trish, but I never felt that, and I'm just being honest here, if I ever thought about a lot of female wrestlers that came at the time when Trish was involved in WWE and at her peak, I never put her on the list of some of the best wrestlers at that time. And I feel like that feud with Becky really pushed Trish to go to a place that she never had before. And that was totally surrounded by a great storyline where they really pushed each other, that I didn't care about a title. And I think too many times the streaks and the titles are taken away from really digging into solid stories. But I don't know in this era if that stigma towards really pushing the women to have great storylines is going to happen. I'm hoping it will. I mean, even with Bayley, I did not like how there wasn't this huge push to show that she was the Royal Rumble champion, just like Cody was. So I hope that there is a push for that moving forward on the main roster.
Yeah, I think it's going to get interesting. And one of the things that we have seen that could potentially help us is we have seen, obviously, the tie and connection between NXT and the main roster, not just in, characters remaining the same, but in the kind of action we're seeing. What Monday Night Raw showed us Monday night was, it felt like a great NXT show with this perfect mixture of great promos, amazing in-ring action. We were vested in everything that showed up on our screen. And so I think it's taken time for us to get to that particular point. And there are some stories that are really starting to develop. This whole thing that's involving Candice LeRae and Maxine Dupree. No title around it, but there's enough to it that we're like, okay, I think I want to see more of that. It's interesting that you mentioned that we don't have a specific feud to point to with Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley being Rhea Ripley is enough for most of us. So that means Rhea found herself and showed that, hey, I'm that person, and for her, there's been a road for her to get there. When Rhea Ripley first showed up, in NXT with blonde hair and just happy to be here, not as many people cared about her. And she went through a few phases before she became this enigma that everybody just loves no matter what she does. So I think there's this interesting combo of what wrestlers end up doing. And I know a lot of people like to say, well, writers, this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But for any movie, for any TV show, it's funny how nobody talks about the writers. Everybody talks about how great actors are. So at some point, you need the right person in to be able to deliver. And so I think, obviously they're playing to her strengths, et cetera, et cetera. And it's going to be interesting to see what other women get the opportunity to have great stories told and how invested they are in being able to tell those particular stories. So that's pretty exciting to say the least. Lots of things happening in the chat, and we still have a bunch of stories to get to, so we'll do our best on this one. A very interesting story came out, and I know we've talked about this actually here on this show. There was a lot of question in terms of, would Bray Wyatt make his way to the WWE Hall of Fame this year? And as we started seeing the names come out, it certainly seemed like, oh, this is a done deal, especially when they announced the U.S. Express, Mike Rotundo, Barry Windham, obviously Bray's father and uncle. It just felt like this was going to be a thing. But Mike Rotundo recently spoke to the great Bill Apter, and in there, he said something that alludes to something that we actually talked about potentially on the show. Here's what he said. He said, with Wyndham's passing, obviously that being Bray, I thought we were going to immediately put him in, which he will be at some point. But WWE reassessed things, and they thought it was too soon to go there with our family and the reactions and the stress that was already on us. He went on to say, we got a call from WWE, and they said that Triple H wanted to do a Zoom call. They were thinking that Triple H was going to say on this Zoom call that Bray was going in. Instead, he said that him, being Mike Rotundo, and Barry Windham would be going in to the Hall of Fame. And this is what Mike Rotundo said about that. He said it's flattering, obviously, and actually less stressful on us because of all the stuff we had to go through with Wyndham's passing, just the mental capacity of it. So if you want to understand exactly why Bray Wyatt is not going in the Hall of Fame this year, it's out of respect for his family. The thought that indeed the emotions would be too much, and instead of trying to capitalize on that, they will put it off until a year where the family feels comfortable. And I just think, again, further proof that we are in a brand new day, because in times past, it would have been thought to put him in immediately, much like what happened with Eddie Guerrero. And, not much thought given to how the family would feel about this. So I think this is a brilliant move. Congratulations to Triple H and the entire team for considering the family's wishes. Now, Bray, of course, will not be left out of WrestleMania week, as this coming Monday, we will see the premiere of Becoming Immortal, the documentary on all things Bray Wyatt, which I think is going to be extremely powerful. And that will be available on Peacock. So you guys will be able to check that out. Moving from WWE for a bit and going into AEW, a couple of very interesting pieces of AEW news for you. For one, their inaugural pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, which initially happened back in 2019. Strange and hard to believe that was 5 years ago. Wow. Their first pay-per-view in Las Vegas. Well, they will be returning to the place where it all started, the MGM Grand. Double or Nothing 2024 for AEW will happen on May the 26th. Tickets will go on sale. Pre-sale is tomorrow. Full ticket sales will happen starting Saturday. So that's going to be interesting for AEW. Another interesting piece of AEW pay-per-view news is this. In the States specifically, if you've been watching an AEW pay-per-view, it has been exclusively on Bleacher Report. That has been going on since that debut pay-per-view back in 2019. Well, they made an interesting decision, and that decision is for the next 3 pay-per-views, including Dynasty, you'll be able to check them out now on Triller TV. Now, Triller TV had been the home for this internationally, but now it's the home for the U.S., and I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, they're doing this for the next 3 pay-per-views specifically. Do you think this is a trial for Triller TV? Could AEW be moving away from Bleacher Report? Or is this just a, hey, let's see kind of move? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a trial run, and I think it's smart. There's so many options now for where pay-per-view shows in general can be available. Why not see what really works? And just like you're saying, AEW is still in very early stages of figuring out many different ways that AEW works and what feels comfortable for them in many ways, including where their programming is. So I definitely don't see any harm in it. There are a lot of events now that are going to Triller, so why not see if it works for the fan base? So yeah,
it makes sense. I don't know much about Bleacher Report and having to watch it on there and all that kind of thing, but from when I saw the news and I've seen the comments following that as well, the majority of fans seem happy with it. So it makes sense. This is definitely a trial run. The next 3 pay-per-views, if it goes well, you'll see a complete change. It will be on Triller TV from there on out.
Yeah. Triller TV, formerly known as Fight TV, of course, has played home to a number of great wrestling pay-per-views. A lot of the pay-per-views that you will see from New Japan on the English side will be there, as well as TNA. I can tell you that a lot of fans have not exactly been happy with Bleacher Report and their performance relative to these pay-per-views. A lot of weird glitches and things like this. So I think this could be a great opportunity for Triller TV should it work for them. So we'll certainly check that out. And yeah, I think it'll be a very interesting run for sure. Now, heading back to NXT, which normally we kick off the show with NXT, but there's just been so many things going on. I think about the mayor of Vice City, we speak your name, kind sir, said, I'm sure had a lot to say about the Lola Vice Open Challenge that happened last night on NXT. We had not seen Lola Vice inside of a ring for quite some time. She, of course, was the winner of the women's breakout tournament. She issued an open challenge and did not expect to see, of all people, the boat. Best of all time, the Guinness World Record holder, Natalya, showed up to answer the challenge. And while it was certainly a very competitive match, at the end of the day, Natalya walks away with the win over Lola Vice. So I have two questions. Number one, your thoughts on Natalya returning to NXT. And number two, where do we go with Lola Vice?
I wish Sedwood was here. I would love to hear his opinion right now. I believe it would be similar to mine, but exaggerated 20 million times more. Of course. But I don't understand what's happening with Lola Vice right now. It doesn't make sense to me. It was great to see Natalya come out, but it would have been better for Lola to beat Natalya and put her back on the trajectory to kind of push her back towards being a big star in the women's division on NXT, even again close to the NXT Women's Championship. I don't understand what this did for anyone. Yes, it was a great showing for Lola. Yes, Natalya then said how good she is and that she should be higher up and she's going to be a big star. But after she won the women's breakout tournament, then lost her chance, then she disappears for a bit, then she comes back, then she loses. I don't quite get what we're doing here.
I completely agree. That literally was my thoughts watching it. I love that they immediately was excited to see Natalya because she does a great job of literally showcasing anyone that she's in the ring with in a great way. And you did see that in this match. And then to flatline with having Lola not win this match when I was very impressed with Lola during the NXT breakout tournament. And I was really rooting for a really great push for her. And that can very well still be happening, especially with them having her face off against someone like Natalya.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hate to interrupt you, but we do have breaking news.
What's this?
Speak his name and he will appear. We asked for him, and I don't even plan this stuff. This is like rain in Chicago on a Monday. He said the mayor of Vice City is here just in time, sir. So we literally are talking about the open challenge last night. How did you feel? I know you are driving right now after leaving Vice City.
Yes.
What is the feeling right now there in that part of town?
I've been putting out fires all day. We have what we like to call an American travesty. And you know what? I'm right on time. There was a lot of things to discuss to say. I saw the rundown sheet, but this is what I'm here for. Because Mr. Hickenbottom, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing with Lola Vice? And I will say, echoing Candace's sentiments, this was an excellent display of Lola's skill. She looked strong in the match. my problem is, and you know what? I'll look at both sides of the spectrum here because it was a very good match. I think Lola's promo was done very well. She articulated herself very well on the mic. But taking a loss, that helps nobody. And I'm going to be very blunt here. I might get in trouble for this, but when's the last time Natalya's been relevant? When's the last time? So I think at this stage in Natalya's career, she's a gatekeeper. She's a rite of passage for the women of tomorrow that can make a name for themselves. What she was doing with Tegan Nox has not elevated Tegan Nox at all. So that's what scares me about this pairing. Unless Lola picks up a win very rapidly over Natalya, this is all for naught. Because it was an excellent match. But taking an L to Natty, because, I mean, there's all this buzz about, oh, there's a main roster star coming down to NXT. Who could it be? And then we get Natalya. like, come on, bro. That didn't excite me. After Lola just lost her breakout tournament contract. So this has to be a rite of passage because, yes, Natalya does work well with almost anybody. But in a gatekeeper fashion, she has to go out on her back. I'm just very thankful because if Lola would have tapped, it would have got real aggressive today. But a schoolboy roll up, I'm fine with that. I just need Lola to get her lick back. One thing I loved about the match overall, they showcased her graps. They showcased the submission wrestling, the triangle choke, getting out of the sharpshooter into a leg lock. There's a lot of different things she did over the course of that match that we have not been seeing. So if you're an MMA talent, those are things that you should naturally have in your bag. So now that we're finally starting to showcase that, we can maybe lean away from the hands and the feet striking type of ability and lean more into that. So it won't be so much work relying on her promos because if I'm being honest, for a while her promo work was very cringe. So I just need her to get her lick back pretty fast. So within the next 2 weeks, by the time we get to Stand and Deliver, Lola has to defeat Natalya very handedly if we're going to continue this trajectory because that's what working with the main roster stars is supposed to do. So Hickenbottom, the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. She already been on Level Up a lot more than she should have been for a breakout tournament star. She has to go over Natalya clean in the next 30 days. As a matter of fact, I won't even just say clean. They got to look brutal. She got to land one of them spinning back picks and send Natalya to the moon. It has to look brutal.
Well, I think we've been waiting for this.
And no shade.
Yes.
No shade. But I've never popped hearing Natalya's music. So, like, we have to be realistic here and make sure Natalya go out on her back here in the next month.
And there it is. There it is. There's quite a bit that's happening over here in the chat now. There are a few people like MDB. He agrees with you. Says Lola Vice deserved to win. Special Little Nobody says a crime took place in Vice City last night. We need Crockett and Tubbs on the case. Well said. Cousin, this is good. Has anyone checked on the health of TK after Trick's vignettes last night?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it might be why she's not with us today. I don't know. Boza says, I bet said he was upset to see Natalya visit NXT to put Lola in her place. Wow. Natalya was a buffer in the feud between Carmen Petrovic and Lola Vice. Interesting.
And Carmen Petrovic came to the ring and nobody knew who she was.
That's true too.
What are we doing?
Wow. Special Little Nobodies, they practice gentrification in Petrovic County. This is good. Wow. Let's see. Oh no, Seti is here as we are talking about Lola's loss to Natalya. Wow. Boza says Seti has to do his run-in to whine about this. Wow. Okay. Well, meanwhile, Cousin Ron says somebody had to say it. Preach said. And Special Nobody says Lola needs to get back worse than Drake and Cole. Yeah. Do you have anything you'd like to say to Boza after his comments to you said?
I don't think this is whining per se. I think this is justification. In this era of the WWE, this is about building new stars. You don't saddle your shiny new toy with somebody that I can argue has never been a star. And I say that with the utmost respect. Like, taking a loss and having to sit on that, it does no good for anybody.
Well, there it is. So I'm this is going to be interesting because, of course, next Tuesday is the final Tuesday before Stand and Deliver. And it will be interesting to see what happens with Natalya, with Lola, if there will be a spot for Lola to get perhaps a rematch of some sort before Stand and Deliver. If not, what will happen potentially after Stand and Deliver? And I'm interested to see what happens with Lola at this point, because I think this is interesting. This is very, very interesting, and we'll see certainly where it goes from there. One of the other things that happened last night, which I'm interested to see, is Ridge.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, Ridge Holland last night announced that he's stepping away from in-ring competition. And I had pretty much gotten myself to be like, okay, so where's the run-in? Who's coming to interrupt this? Who's coming to stop this? And no one did. After he did it, they went to commercial. So what do you think happens with Ridge Holland at this point?
I'm going to say this, and I got to mute real quick, but
yes, sir.
Ridge Holland's segment got more claps and cheers than Natalya showing up in NXT. And that's a fact. That's a fact. So I'm going to go on mute. Y'all do what y'all will with that.
My. Wow.
You know what? I'll be honest. I found it quite surprising. And no, not to Ridge, but I found it quite surprising that he would get this opportunity to do that in the ring and on a live show. We've seen quite a few people who've had to kind of step back, but we find out through the news outlets or on their Twitter or something like that. For Ridge Holland to get that exposure was very surprising. I don't know what to make of it necessarily. Again, no, not to Ridge, but again, it's not like he's got, you know, a collection of NXT titles or whatever else behind him and all that kind of thing. So, and yes, he was on TV, you know, the last week or the last few weeks with Sean Spears and stuff. But I'm baffled, if I'm honest. It's sad to see him go. I'll be honest with that as well. It's sad to see him kind of having to step down, whatever the reason is. But I'm just shocked that he got that exposure and that time.
Candace, your thoughts on this Ridge Holland announcement last night?
I kind of felt it in the air for a few weeks where they kept playing on the fact that he's creating these injuries and these very scary predicaments for his fellow wrestlers. And if what I'm thinking is okay, especially because I was thinking about this for a few weeks, that might be where they're going with his character. I think it even goes to play into what you just said, where you're like, I don't really think about Ridge like that, you know, but playing on him really possibly, it could be obviously a blend of the real feelings that he has about these real situations that created issues with him, even on social media, with being attacked for these things, but playing into it and weaving it into a good storyline where he kind of stays away for a bit and possibly returns in a big way. It can possibly make his career where people are invested, you know, in him possibly seeing that he wants to come back and ignore certain comments that people have made. What the type of storytelling that NXT has done, sometimes you don't always initially see where something's going to go, but they'll have things and little details and conversations for weeks prior and really blend it into a well-done story. So that could possibly be the case here, where they really want to make it seem like he is going off of T completely. He has talked to his family. He has really sat down and thought about this decision and really turn it into something.
Yeah, this said, go ahead.
This one's very interesting to me, actually, that they would go this route. I feel like when you blend some type of realism in wrestling, it's always its best, and we saw that most recently with what's going on with Maxine Dupree. But this one's kind of dangerous because it's so close to home with what we're doing with Big E, and I think that's what they're leaning in, where he's talking about the DMs and the hate he received and how he's been seen as dangerous. So I personally hope they stick the landing, whatever they do with him. Because outside of just having a shoot fight with Big E backstage or something like that, where Big E demolishes him, there's not much he can come back from. So I want to see him have a healthy, long career and kind of get his comeuppance. I think that's why they sent him back to NXT to get some work, but the negative perception is just there. So them leaning into it, I want to say usually it does pan out. So I'm interested to see what they do, whether it's a few months to let people forget, but we know the internet never forgets. So I'm curious to see how they really do it.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see how it comes together. Very, very interesting. Eric, good to see, says Sol Ruka versus Blair Davenport. Yes, that is coming next week. Welcome, Anand. Do we watch UFC, though? A little bit. We're primarily doing pro wrestling here. And let's see. Boza says people only clap for Ridge because that PC crowd is either weird or still blame that man for Big E's injury. Well, I heard a lot of thank you, Ridge. So I think when people see people move to a space of moving away from in-ring competition, whether they like them or not, there is a general respect that's given. And that respect is where people will go, thank you, Ridge, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are not a lot of titles that you can look at in terms of his career, not a lot of, major accolades or big matches that we might remember of Rich Holland. We just do remember a lot of these wild moments that happened. And I think one of the things that people forget was before the mishap that happened with Big E and a few others, he had his own mishap in NXT, where he landed wrong on the outside of the ring and his leg broke literally on live television. And so it's not just the injuring of others, but his own personal injuries, which I think are playing a toll. I am very interested in seeing, to the point that all of you have made, where this goes, because I can't tell right now. I can't tell where it's headed, but as we have mentioned, NXT does a great job of really being able to help us, determine where they're, landing something that is significant. And so we'll see if that indeed does happen. All right. So before we get out of here, of course, tonight is Wednesday, and that means AEW Dynamite. And Dynamite has quite the card lined up for us tonight. We're going to have two tournament qualifiers for the AEW Tag Team Championship. Best Friends, who won the wild card match a little while ago, will be taking on, actually last week, they'll be taking on the Undisputed Kingdom. Now, I don't know if anybody else sees this, but, the idea that we've got the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions in a tournament for the AEW Tag Team titles is strange to me. It's also interesting to me that I don't remember the last time. Well, actually, I do remember the last time I saw an ROH champion win on AEW Dynamite. And that was the night that Samoa Joe relinquished the AEW World Television title. The ROH World Television title. If you'll notice, the last couple of weeks, we've seen Ring of Honor champions all lose on AEW. I don't know what that means for this. It could mean something. It may not. But tonight, the Best Friends take on the Undisputed Kingdom. We'll also see a four-way match between Chris Statlander, Sky Blue, Anna Jay, and Willow Nightingale, where the winner will get a shot at the TBS Championship at AEW Dynasty, and Mercedes Moné will be on commentary. So that should be interesting. I'm looking forward to this one right here. Konosuke Takeshita and Swerve Strickland. It has already been said by Tony Khan, since they both have the exact same number of wins and the same number of losses, that the winner of this match will be the number one contender and will top the rankings and obviously get the world title shot at AEW Dynasty. And then the Young Bucks are taking on Private Party tonight as well in another qualifying match. And the other match that's taking place here that I forgot to put on here is an equal banger, and that's Will Ospreay taking on Katsuyori Shibata. Dynamite's going to go crazy tonight. What are you guys' thoughts on AEW Dynamite tonight? This seems like an insane, almost pay-per-view worthy card.
That's pretty stacked. That is stacked.
Yeah.
My first thought is what you mentioned with the whole ROH thing. I don't want to get into that conversation. We'll be here for another hour. But I the problem that I have with the ROH champions being in the tournament, one, what you said, Gerard, about no champion winning on AEW, but the second one is Supercard of Honor around the corner. Correct. Do they even have a match?
Do not.
What's going on here?
Agreed.
Moving on from that, the other matches, the interesting one for me, apart from the obvious one, which is Takeshita and Swerve, that's gonna be ridiculous. I'm hoping to see Swerve pick up a win after a very good match and then go on to defeat Samoa Joe at Dynasty. That has to happen. The other one for me is Young Bucks and Private Party. It's a rematch. Kind of. I think they've had matches in between since, but when they had the first tag team tournament, obviously Private Party beat the Young Bucks in a massive surprise win. I don't see that happening again this time around, but I'm very interested to see the new Private Party take on the new Young Bucks and see where this one goes and how the match itself goes. I expect to see the Young Bucks win, but it should be a very interesting match.
Indeed. Candace.
It's so funny because I'm just going to be real. I've been kind of like logged off of everything that's been happening with AEW. I've been seeing a bit, like, a few clips or so, but I'm not going to lie. This is going to have me tuned in tonight because this is a very stacked card. I completely agree with the fact that I couldn't even step into this Ring of Honor AEW conversation without that lasting for a long time because I don't get that. But I do see, and I obviously could be wrong, that there's a lot of gears turning with helping to really develop some people in this roster and really make some must-see TV lately. And I'm all for it because I just want everyone to win. I want everyone to do well. I want wrestling to be great in every promotion. So I'm here for this Dynamite episode. It looks really good.
Said.
Yeah, Takeshita and Swerve is a very interesting pairing. I think that will probably steal the show for sure. Ditto on the conversation about the Ring of Honor tag titles, because it seems like since it's been in the ownership of the fake TK that we've done more to devalue the brand than actually elevate it. But like you said, we'll be here for a few days with that conversation. But all in all, solid show. Looks like a solid card from top to bottom. I think it goes back to the just having great matches on the card, which is what they used to do in their genesis. And we're going to start seeing more of that.
Absolutely. So it should be a great night for AEW Dynamite. They are once again in Canada. And yes, Collision will be airing on WrestleMania Saturday at 11:30. We will certainly get to that next week, I'm sure. Boza says, why is the Undisputed Kingdom in here? Unless it's not to build the stupid story where Wardlow is ordered to be their lackey and make sure Undisputed Kingdom advances. Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see how that works. Special Little Nobody says Private Jobbers. All right. Eric says the women's match will be interesting tonight with Mercedes doing commentary. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. Boza is looking forward to the Fatal 4-Way women's match. You would think unless anything weird happens, one of Stokely's women will get the title shot against Julia Hart. I'm interested to see where all of this goes because it feels like Julia Hart's ascension to the TBS title was interesting. Her run as champion, not so much. So I'm interested to see if this will do something and how Mercedes will play into all of this. So we'll find out. Again, Dynamite going down tonight. It should be fantastic. All right. The very last thing we'll mention very briefly is around the former Alicia Fox, now known as Vix Crow, will actually be getting back into the ring soon, going against Mickie James. That actually should be a very, very interesting moment. That is slated to happen as part of an event called the Her Event. And this is going to be taking place on April the 12th and will be airing exclusively on Triller TV. So you'll be able to check this out. This is the first time these two have been in a ring against each other since October of 2009. So this is going to be quite the battle indeed. One of the first times we're seeing the artist now known as Vix Crow inside of a wrestling ring, and this will certainly be a huge challenge for her against Mickie James. So looking forward to this. Great night on tap in terms of AEW Dynamite and then some. Here's how you can reach out to our team. Said, how can the people find you?
Well, first and for Vix Crow sounds like the name of an adult entertainer. So that's a very interesting name choice. I think I only heard that name once before when we talked about the formerly Alicia Fox. But you can find me on these streets at says at CEWD_SAYS and on the gram at Said Is The Answer. I write for Daily DDT and do journalism work. Check my website, CedricDweldon.com. Please get the hashtag Justice for Lola to trend for the next week and some change until she get her get back against a very much washed Natalya Hart. That's all I got.
Candace.
Why? Yeah. You can reach me on X at Wrestling Griot. Same on Instagram and the Wrestling Griot on TikTok.
And by the way, she has a great show here that you guys will want to check out. It is a deep dive. When does Deep Dive air again?
We do it bi-weekly, so I'm really excited about the episode that's going to be that we're going to be doing next week, next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We are going to really dig into the 90s Joshi wrestling era and everything involved in that. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow. And let me tell you guys, Candace is extremely thorough. The show is called Deep Dive for a reason, okay? You're going to learn a ton. And so when you're watching, get your notebooks out, prepare to learn, prepare to study. It's always a great, great show. So congratulations, Candace. Great work.
Thank you.
Hey, Dazzle, how can the people find you and all of the great things that you're doing, sir?
Yes, of course, you can find me on the #1 spot on Instagram, which is Black Wrestling Alliance, all things Black Wrestling. You can find me every now and again when I decide to turn up on X, BWA Dazzle. And of course, you can find me and the omnipresent one that is the Professor Gerard Bonner on a Wrestle Extra every Tuesday, which is 6 o'clock in the UK. You can work it out for yourself whenever that time is for you. But you can find us there alongside, of course, Mix the WrestleManiac every single week on a Tuesday.
Absolutely. Of course, you guys can find me at Bonnerfied on all of the socials. I just dropped I'm doing my best to give you guys some content. So please check it out on those socials. Monday, I gave you one asking who is the real Mr. WrestleMania. Today, the question is, who is the real Ms. WrestleMania? Questions that's not asked very often, but I think I create a case for at least 4 people that you might want to consider. Definitely check it out. Let me know your comments on that. That's available on all of my social spaces. You can also check out my commentary work with, let's run down the line here, IWE and Southern Honor on IWTV. New shows have just dropped for both of those, and I have a new show with SHW coming this Friday. Looking forward to that. You can also check out my work with All Caribbean Wrestling. They've been dropping a lot of matches from Say It Loud, which happened last month. My commentary is on there, so check that out. The Nightmare Factory just did Student Showcase 13. That should be coming very soon. But on the Nightmare Factory channel, you can check out the debut, the premiere, or the relaunch, of Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. I'm blown away by this. We're getting close to 50,000 views on this. This is insane, guys. So thank you so much for checking it out. Thank you for all the cool write-ups and reviews, all of the things. Also, if you've not had a chance to check out Ashe Wrestling, oh my God, you got to do that. So I got a quick little hack for you. Here you go. We've just dropped a couple of free matches from previous Ashe shows on the Ashe Wrestling YouTube page. So if you go over there, you can check out some really cool matches. One of them involves, I believe, Kiera Hogan against Charity King, one half of the Queen Bee. So check that out. That's an amazing one. I believe also the very first match in Ashe history is Kevin Knight and Jossie, the frontman Jossie. That's there as well. So some great matches that you can check out for free. You can check out the full cards at AsheWrestling.com. And we're gearing up for our next show, April the 19th. It's called Cosmos. The first two matches that have been announced are women's matches. And I'm pumped for this. So definitely you want to check it out. It's going to be amazing. I had a couple I was going to mention, but I don't want to get them wrong. So with that said, all things WWT, check out at WW Talk Pod on all of the socials. Great things are happening. We're going to wrap up Women's History Month. So check out the interviews that are on our website, www.talkpod.com. Then we're gearing up, of course, for Mania Week. A ton of content is coming next week. So make sure you guys check that out. And, you know, there's going to be all sorts of after shows, conversations, etc. So prepare yourselves for that. Lots of shout outs to everybody in the chat. So many great people. Cousin Ron, Boza, Eric, Special Little Nobodies. Let's see. MDB. We didn't fight today. How cool is that? Wow. Like, what's happening? It's the rain in Chicago. That's what did it for us. The rain in Chicago. So many other great people hanging out with us today. The numbers were fantastic. We appreciate you guys because we cannot do what we do without you. So we'll be back here for WWT Live on Friday, getting you ready for Jade Cargill's debut on SmackDown and whatever else goes on between now and then. You've got it locked to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. Peace.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.